All right, Friday night, we had a great time in Conway. We had a great turnout for the first induction into the Arkansas Military Hall of Fame, and I think there's about 300 people there. I mean, Jane English has moved in here to the studio, the state representative, now looking to be a state senator. You were there on Friday night. Wasn't it great?
It was wonderful. For a first time, it was absolutely fantastic, and tremendous award winners.
Oh, my Lord.
Super people.
I mean, I seriously, I got to be honest with you, it was a humbling experience being former Air Force to stand on the same stage with those guys. I mean, when you're talking about, Darby's Rangers and all the rest of them, it was really incredible. One gentleman had 8 Purple Hearts. My favorite part of reading on that one was that they were trying to take him to the field hospital. They had treated him in one of the field hospitals, and they were sending him down back behind the lines a long way to the regular hospital. And he didn't want to go. He jumped off the truck with, I guess, executive officers, who it was, and he made his way back to his units with on a cane and had his slippers on. And what was really amazing about that is that they were going to charge him with AWOL because he didn't show up at the hospital. And the general of the court-martial, they actually court-martialed him. That was what really floored me. The general said, I have never found any of my men guilty of AWOL to the front. I thought that was pretty interesting. That was a direct quote from the court-martial. So, you wonder about the people that were under that general, what he had to say to them after the court-martial was over with. I don't think he was happy.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think but there's so many different people, and I talked to a friend of mine today who's going to fill out the paperwork and nominate somebody that he knows that had done all kinds of tours. I think to Vietnam, was going to be put up for the Medal of Honor, instead got the Distinguished Cross or a Star, and he's going to be putting him up. So, and let me tell you, the whole story that I heard about him, he's a really good person that would be great in this Hall of Fame.
There are a lot of really quiet heroes here in
Absolutely.
the state.
And you know what? That's when I believe stories that are told by men who don't want to tell them, because if they're too mouthy about it, it probably didn't happen, the way I look at it. But I could be wrong on that too. I can't paint with a broad brush and say everybody who wants to talk about their stuff that way. Nah. It's
most of those people of that era really didn't.
Oh, the World War II guys? Yeah, they don't want. My father, you had to pull it out. It's like pulling hen's teeth to get him to talk about it. I can only remember a couple of occasions that I asked him questions, and he only gave very short stories. I mean, it didn't talk to me longer than 3 minutes. Now, I talked to Ted Nugent one time, and he says that the World War II veterans did us a disservice because of that. That we should have been told more and more often what they had sacrificed.
We lived in a very different time, and so many of those people came home, went back to their hometowns, got
and
a
tried
job,
to forget about what they've been through.
Except that sometimes when they got together is when they talked. But in a lot of cases, they probably didn't think that most people would understand what they'd been through or would understand the context. We didn't have the communications then that we do today.
Right.
So people would have an opportunity to see it.
All right. Well, Jane English is here today, and Jane, you want to stop by and talk about. There's an article you got right in front of you, and this article says Senate candidates trade charges on ethics and residency, and this is from Mr. Hyde, Representative Barry Hyde of North Little Rock, and of course, State Representative Jane English of North Little Rock. So, explain this contentious battle that's going on between the two of you.
I think one of the things that, in my mind, elections are about the future, not about the past. And I've lived in this Senate district for 30 years. And all of a sudden, it was redrawn to a new Senate District 34. And with the purpose, I think, of only having one person to be able to run for that office. So my house right near my subdivision was totally drawn out of this new district. And I had probably said for over a year that I was going to run for this office when Mary Ann Salmon was term limited. So, people need, my husband and I decided, and other folks, people need a choice in elections. And so we put our house up for sale and rented an apartment to establish residency. And right after the redistricting was completed, I sent out a card to all the voters in my district, telling them exactly what had happened with the redistricting, that they would still be served by me as their representative until 2013, when new representatives took over, and gave them my name and my telephone number and an email so that they would know exactly where to contact me, which is exactly what they've been doing. And I am still in my district doing my job with them. But apparently it sounds like from this article that I have abandoned my district, which I don't think is true at all.
Right. But so what you're saying to me is that there was probably a little bit of shenanigans going on here, Jane?
Politics is what politics is, and we all know it's a battle.
Right.
And right now I think the battle is, let us remain with the status quo rather than thinking about how we're going to move the state forward.
And they drew up these different, you would feel the same way I do, they've drawn up these districts to try to give Democrats the best chance to win these races.
Exactly. And I think in an area like Mail, where they put those, what was part of one Senate district before is now part of 3 Senate districts, so they could diffuse some of the conservative votes in that area. So, but I think, we have an opportunity with this election coming up to begin to think about how do we want to move the state forward. And I think that we're 49th. We've been 49th. We've had the same team on the field for 150 years, and I think there's nothing wrong with new thoughts, new ideas, and new people.
Now, you've got some questions for State Representative Barry Hyde, correct?
Well, the RPA.
Okay.
Filed an ethics
the Republican
complaint.
Party has done that, and their question is?
The question is, have some of the carryover funds from his House race in 2010 been used for some of his Senate campaign, for this Senate campaign.
And that's not legal, correct?
No, it's not legal. You can only carry over $15,000, and you cannot build a war chest, and you have to turn the money over in excess of $15,000, which is our annual salary. You have to turn that over to either the Democratic Party or some nonprofit organizations, but you can't keep it to use it for future races. And
the Republican Party is expecting to hear something on this ethics complaint by when?
I don't know. It'll be up to the Ethics Commission to look at it and determine whether they think there's any wrongdoing or not.
Okay. Hey, call Doyle Webb and see if he can join us for a few moments. Maybe he can give us some extra information on that. Our guest, of course, State Representative Jane English. It's 2:18, a break and more here on the Dave Elswick Show.